Imagine pulling off like the perfect heist. You secure the bag, you win the legal battle flawlessly, and you walk out of that courtroom a completely free, incredibly wealthy person.
Pretty much the ultimate dream for a criminal.
Right. But then, as you step back into your normal life, you slowly realize your massive victory is actually a suffocating psychological prison.
Oh, wow. So you win, but you lose.
Exactly. The law says you are completely innocent, but your reality has become a nightmare. And that terrifying paradox is, well, it's exactly what we're exploring today.
It's a fascinating concept.
It really is. And hey, real quick, if you're joining us on the Simplified Summary YouTube channel, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below. Your support is literally the engine that allows us to keep bringing these deep dives to life.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys listening and interacting.
Definitely. So today, our mission is to examine a really brilliant, kind of unsettling thesis. We're looking at the absolute limits of institutional law compared to the devastating power of the human conscience.
Which is a heavy topic, but we're pulling it apart through an incredible lens.
We are. We're using a classic story by the legendary Hindi author Munshi Premchand. It's titled Ishwari Nyay, which translates to divine justice. And this is extracted from his really celebrated Mansarovar collection.
And, you know, we aren't just going to recap a plot here. That's not what this deep dive is about.
No, not at all. We're going to dissect the actual anatomy of betrayal. We want to look at the psychological frameworks behind embezzlement and really figure out why getting away with it is sometimes the worst possible punishment.
Right, because Premchand's story is essentially a masterclass in behavioral psychology, and it's all wrapped in this setting of early 20th century rural India.
Yeah, his sociological eye is just incredibly sharp.
Oh, absolutely. He could take standard village dynamics like, you know, a wealthy landlord, an overworked manager, a dispute over land, and he uses them to expose these massive blind spots in how we actually define justice.
Which is super relevant today.
Yeah.
I mean, we put so much faith in the legal system to tell us who is right and who is wrong.
Right. But this story fundamentally asks you, the listener, what happens when the legal system gets it completely wrong, but the community just refuses to accept the verdict?
So let's map out the environment for you before the disaster hits. We are in Kanpur. We have a very wealthy landlord, Pandit Brigadev.
And for those of us not familiar with the old zamindari system, we should clarify, this isn't just a guy with a couple of rental houses.
No. He is effectively running a small fiefdom. We're talking hundreds of tenant farmers, massive grain stores, immense local power.
But the Pandit doesn't run the day-to-day operations himself.
Exactly. He relies completely on his manager, a munshi named Satyinarayan. And by every single metric, Satyinarayan is the model employee.
He's the guy you want running your business.
100%. He handles thousands of rupees, he manages all the complex logistics, and he does it with this absolute, unshakable integrity.
But then a massive variable changes the whole equation.
Right. So the Pandit leaves for a pilgrimage to the Kumbh Mela in Prayag. And for context, that's a massive religious gathering where literally millions of people congregate.
A sea of humanity.
Yeah. And he disappears. He never comes back.
Which, I mean, it sounds crazy now, but that was a very real, very terrifying possibility at the time.
Oh, totally. No cell phones, no tracking.
Exactly. The massive crowds, disease outbreaks, just the sheer chaos of the pilgrimage meant people sometimes just vanished. But locally, back home, what this creates is a massive power vacuum.
Right, because the Pandit leaves behind a widow, Phanu Kumari, and their 2 small children.
And she is suddenly thrust into control of this vast, highly complex economic machine.
Which she has no idea how to run.
Exactly. And her solution to this overwhelming problem is what sets the trap for the entire tragedy. She turns to Satyinarayan, the man her husband trusted.
Makes sense on paper.
Right. But she gives him total, unquestioned authority. She essentially tells him, you know, I don't know how this works, so I'm leaving the entire estate in your hands.
I was reading this and trying to find the modern equivalent. It is basically like giving an employee the master passwords to your entire company.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, like you give them the bank accounts, the routing numbers, the payroll, and then you completely disable all the audit software and never, ever check the login history.
You're just flying blind.
Completely. You're assuming that their past good behavior guarantees future good behavior entirely on the honor system.
And that is a critical point to linger on for a second. What Premchand is illustrating here is a classic failure of systems design.
How so?
Well, you see, when the Pandit was alive, Satyinarayan's honesty was not existing in a vacuum. The pandit would occasionally review the ledgers.
So there was someone watching.
Right. And more importantly, he recognized Satyinarayan's value and would occasionally reward him. There was this balanced ecosystem of trust, subtle oversight, and actual appreciation.
Okay, I see.
But when the widow steps in, that entire ecosystem is destroyed. There's zero oversight, and as we are about to see, zero appreciation.
Let's talk about that lack of appreciation, because this is where my sympathy for our so-called villain actually started to kick in a bit.
I think a lot of readers feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, put yourself in Satyinarayan's shoes for a second.
Yeah.
Years pass. You are doing a brilliant job. You are saving this estate thousands of rupees, expanding their land, protecting their wealth.
Working tirelessly.
Right. But Phanu Kumari is incredibly stingy. She pays this master manager a meager salary of just 20 rupees a month. 20 rupees.
While he is literally securing her family's entire fortune.
Exactly. I have to play devil's advocate here. If you are an employee grinding away, making your boss incredibly rich while you struggle to afford basic comforts for your own family, isn't his growing resentment completely logical?
It's deeply human.
Yeah. I mean, is he really a villain, or is he just a profoundly exploited worker who finally snaps?
I really don't think Premchand views him as a villain at all, at least not initially. He views him as human, like you said. What you are describing maps perfectly onto what forensic accountants and criminologists today call the fraud triangle.
Oh, the fraud triangle. Okay, I love this framework. Break that down for this situation.
Well, for a normal, non-criminal person to commit fraud, 3 elements usually need to be present: opportunity, pressure, and rationalization.
Okay, so let's apply that. The opportunity is obvious.
Right. The widow has removed all oversight. He holds the keys to the treasury, and literally no one is checking his math.
And the pressure.
The pressure is his meager 20 rupee salary. It's his desire to provide for his own family while he's forced to watch the estate's wealth just balloon under his management.
That would drive anyone crazy. But what about rationalization?
That is the most dangerous element. He doesn't wake up one morning and say, you know, I am going to steal from a widow today.
People rarely think of themselves as the bad guy.
Exactly. The human mind doesn't like to view itself as evil. Instead, he looks at the thousands he has saved her, looks at his tiny paycheck, and a profound sense of injustice takes root.
He rationalizes it.
Yes. He rationalizes that he isn't stealing. He is simply taking the bonus he rightfully earned. He convinces himself that moral fairness supersedes legal property rights.
Wow. It's the classic moral licensing. Like, I've been so good for so long and I've been treated so poorly that I'm allowed to do this one bad thing to balance the scales.
Spot on.
And that psychological shift is the direct catalyst for the crime. Because he doesn't just skim a little off the top to buy nicer clothes. He goes really big.
Oh, he goes massive.
Yeah, he siphons off 30,000 rupees of Phanu Kumari's money. In that era, that is a staggering fortune.
Life-changing money.
And he uses it to secretly buy a highly profitable, fertile village along the banks of the Ganga. But crucially, and this is the wild part, he registers the deed entirely in his own name.
Right. He uses her capital to transform himself into a zamindar.
He essentially executes a hostile takeover of a portion of her wealth. And because he is the one cooking the books, he maintains the illusion of normality for quite a while.
Which is typical. But white-collar crime always relies on the victim not asking the right questions.
And the way the house of cards falls here is almost agonizingly casual. Phanu Kumari decides she wants to build a temple, the Bargada temple.
She needs funds.
Right. So she calls in Satyinarayan and just casually asks him about the revenues from that specific new village, entirely assuming it belongs to the estate.
Because why wouldn't she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is the moment. Satyinarayan is backed into a corner, but he's emboldened by his new status as a landowner. He looks at her and boldly claims the village is his own.
He outright denies her ownership.
Yes. The audacity of it is shocking.
Imagine the psychological whiplash for the widow. In an instant, she realizes the man standing in front of her isn't her loyal protector. He's a parasite who has been draining her family's survival funds.
Oh, she must have been absolutely furious.
Beyond furious. And she doesn't just weep about it, she mobilizes. She hires a high-powered, incredibly aggressive lawyer known locally as Seth G. or Mara Babu to drag Satyinarayan into court and just completely destroy him.
She goes nuclear. But this legal threat exposes a massive, glaring vulnerability in Satyinarayan's grand plan.
He didn't cover all his bases.
Not at all. He has the deed to the village, yes. But to buy that village, he had to move 30,000 rupees of the estate's money. And as any accountant knows, moving that much money leaves a paper trail.
A huge paper trail.
The estate ledgers, the physical bahikate, clearly show the money flowing from her accounts into his purchase. And those ledgers are sitting in the estate office, which is still located on Phanu Kumari's property.
And if Seth G., her lawyer, gets a subpoena for those books, the trial is over before it even begins.
Exactly.
The ledgers are the undeniable mathematical truth. Satyinarayan realizes that his entire rationalized fantasy of being a self-made man is about to be shattered by a few pages of ink.
So he has to eliminate the evidence.
He has no other choice.
And this leads to a scene that completely shifts the psychological profile of the crime. Just put yourself in the dark with him for a second. It's the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Satyinarayan sneaks back onto the estate he used to manage.
Highly risky.
Very. He creeps up to the office. There are guards outside, but he manages to quietly extinguish their lantern, plunging the area into pitch black. He slips inside, locates those specific ledgers, and vanishes into the night with them.
It's like a movie scene.
It really is. Now, why I find this so fascinating is that it's no longer just moving numbers around a page. He has crossed a physical threshold here. He has gone from a passive, resentful embezzler to an active, creeping burglar.
That physical crossing of the line is profound, because stealing the money was rationalized as taking his fair share, but sneaking into the dark to steal the truth.
Yeah, that's different.
It requires a different level of moral corruption. In his mind, however, this physical theft is the final step to absolute security. Without the ledgers, the court has no evidence. He believes he has successfully hacked the legal system.
But this legal armor he built has a massive blind spot. He secured his property, sure, but he completely forgot to secure his reputation.
Which, in that society, is everything.
Yeah, right, because while the court requires paper and proof, the community only requires eyes and ears. Before the trial even concludes, there is a devastating emotional confrontation that proves this. His own elderly mother approaches him.
And in the context of this culture, the mother represents the uncorrupted, foundational moral center.
She sees right through him.
Exactly. She isn't concerned with deeds or ledgers. She sees the truth of his soul. She confronts him and begs him not to keep what she calls haram ki kaudi, sinful, cursed money.
Wow.
She appeals to his history, reminding him of the pandit, the man who fed him, trained him, and gave him his livelihood. She is warning him that some wealth carries a spiritual debt that will just crush his family.
And he completely dismisses her. He uses the ultimate defensive shield. He uses his children.
The classic excuse.
Yeah, he tells her the world is harsh, the widow was ungrateful, and he is just securing a future for his kids. It's the final stage of his rationalization. And, initially it seems like his cold logic actually pays off. The court case arrives, and it plays out exactly as he engineered it.
Because the legal system operates like an algorithm. It can only process the inputs it is given.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Without the stolen ledgers, Phanu Kumari has no input. It is just her verbal accusation against his perfectly legal deed of ownership.
And his lawyer jumps on that.
Ruthlessly. Satyinarayan's lawyer argues that a free citizen, even a servant, has the absolute right to purchase his own property. He paints the widow as a bitter, jealous aristocrat trying to crush a hardworking man's success.
And the judge buys it.
The judge, bound by the strict rules of evidence, rules in Satyinarayan's favor. He wins.
He beats the system. He walks out of that courtroom a legally vindicated, incredibly wealthy zamindar. But here is where Premchand pulls the rug out from under him. And really from under you, the listener.
This is the turning point.
Satyinarayan returns to his town fully expecting to be treated with the deference of a wealthy landowner. Instead, he walks into a wall of absolute social isolation. The entire town knows what he did. They know he robbed a vulnerable widow.
And this is where we see the immense, terrifying power of communal morality over institutional law.
It's way stronger than a judge's gavel.
By far. The law declared him innocent, but the community, the actual living organism of the town, declared him utterly guilty. And in a tight-knit society, gossip and shaming aren't just mean-spirited whispers.
What are they?
They are the community's immune system. They are actively isolating a social pathogen.
That is such a good way to put it. And the story details how brutal this is. It's not just the wealthy elites snubbing him. When his wife goes out to the market, the local street vendors, the vegetable sellers, openly mock her.
To her face.
Yes. They loudly joke about her buying eggplants with stolen widows' money. To understand the gravity of this, think about our earlier analogy of the perfect heist.
Right, the Wi-Fi analogy.
It's like winning a massive multi-million-dollar settlement in court. But the moment you step outside, the judge orders that your Wi-Fi is cut, Your cell service is terminated, your credit cards are blocked, and no one is allowed to speak to you.
You're completely cut off.
You have all this wealth on paper, but you have zero ability to transact in the currency of human connection. You are entirely paralyzed.
That is an excellent way to frame it. Wealth only has value if the society around you honors it.
Exactly.
By rejecting his honor, the community renders his wealth toxic. He realizes he has sacrificed his self-respect, his family's dignity, and his entire social standing just for a piece of land.
It wasn't worth it.
Not at all. His legal victory morphs into a crushing, unbearable psychological defeat. He is a rich man, but he is living in a prison built by the collective disgust of his neighbors.
This unbearable public shame, this reality that there is literally nowhere to run and nowhere to hide from the judgment of your peers, it sets the stage for the climax.
It breaks him.
It completely breaks him down, proving that the heaviest sentence imaginable doesn't come from a judge. It comes from the mirror and the people on your street. So let's look at how this pressure cooker finally explodes.
The courtroom scene.
Yes. It's the final moments of the legal proceedings. Things are wrapping up. Satyinarayan is technically the victor. But suddenly, breaking all norms, Phanu Kumari herself physically steps into the courtroom.
Which, I mean, that cannot be overstated as a dramatic event.
Right, because of the social norms of the time.
Exactly. As a high-status widow, she would traditionally remain behind the veil, completely insulated from public male-dominated spaces like a courtroom. Her physical presence in that room is a massive breach of protocol.
It shows how desperate she is.
It signals an absolute desperate resolve. She is bypassing the lawyers entirely.
She lifts her veil. She ignores the judge. She doesn't cite a single legal precedent. She walks right up to Satyinarayan, looks him dead in the eye, and attacks his conscience directly.
It's so powerful.
She tells him to swear on his honor in front of the divine and the entire public who truly owns that village. She forces him to stop hiding behind his lawyer and the missing ledgers and to actually face the human being he destroyed.
It is a brilliant strategic move. She strips away the artificial environment of the court. She brings the moral weight of the village directly into the legal arena.
And she makes him look at her.
Right. She forces him to verbalize his lie while looking at his victim.
And he shatters. The expert facade, the rationalizations, the bravado, it all just crumbles.
Yeah.
The story describes him being completely overwhelmed. And I want to pause here because this is the core of the whole deep dive.
Why does he break?
Exactly. Why does he break? It's the cumulative weight of the guilt he tried to bury, the public shame that has been torturing his wife at the market, and this sudden visceral fear of divine retribution triggered by the widow's direct gaze.
It all comes crashing down.
He stands there trembling and publicly confesses everything to the judge. He admits he stole the capital. He admits he crept into the dark and stole the ledgers. He burns his own perfect heist to the ground.
The courtroom is stunned. The entire legal apparatus is short-circuited by a sudden injection of raw truth.
They weren't prepared for it.
No. And the judge, witnessing this incredible breakdown, formally declares this event Ishwari Nyay, divine justice. The judge openly acknowledges that this confession was extracted by a power far superior to and far more accurate than the flawed legal system they operate in.
And the aftermath is just as fascinating to me. Phanu Kumari, having reclaimed the moral truth, actually exhibits incredible grace.
She doesn't seek revenge.
No. She forgives him. She even offers to reinstate him. But Satyinarayan is a fundamentally altered human being. The psychological fever has broken.
He can't go back to how things were.
Right. He refuses to keep the village, but he also refuses to just give it back to the estate. He donates the entire village to charity. He makes it Krishnarapan, a complete offering to the divine.
A total surrender.
Yeah. The revenues are ordered to be used exclusively to fund students and feed the poor. He permanently cleanses his hands of the wealth that nearly destroyed his soul.
He essentially pays a massive spiritual fine to buy back his peace of mind.
Exactly. So, turning this back to you listening and to you, my co-host, what is the actual mechanism of divine justice here?
That's the big question.
Did Satyinarayan genuinely experience the wrath of God in that courtroom? Or did he just have a nervous breakdown because he couldn't handle the intense sociological pressure of the vegetable seller mocking his wife and the widow staring him down?
Was it God or society?
Yeah. Was it the hand of the divine or just weaponized extreme peer pressure?
I think the enduring genius of Premchand is that he refuses to separate the two.
How do you mean?
In the worldview of this story, society and the divine are inextricably linked. God doesn't need to part the clouds and strike Satyinarayan with a lightning bolt.
Right, it's not a supernatural thriller.
Exactly. The divine operates through the fabric of the community. The vegetable seller's mockery, the mother's warning of cursed money, the inability to look a wronged widow in the eye, these sociological pressures are the instruments of the divine.
Oh, I love that.
The community's moral immune system is the mechanism by which divine justice is actually enacted on Earth.
The law failed completely because it only looked at the paperwork. But the social fabric held because it looked at his character.
Precisely. And that brings us to the profound danger of relying solely on institutional systems for our morality.
It's a huge risk.
It is. Satyinarayan had the documentation, he had the deed, he played the game exactly as the system required, and the system declared him a winner. But in doing so, he lost his humanity.
It really makes you wonder how often we use, well, it's technically legal, as a shield for behavior we know is fundamentally wrong.
We do it all the time.
We do. The perfect heist isn't perfect if you have to live with a thief inside your own head every single day.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating modern dilemma to chew on.
Let's hear it.
Think about the direction our technology is heading today, specifically things like blockchain and smart contracts.
Oh, right. Crypto and Web3 stuff.
Yeah. We are actively engineering systems designed to be completely trustless. Systems that execute automatically based purely on code and digital inputs, intentionally removing human judgment and human conscience from the equation entirely.
To avoid the messiness of human emotion.
Exactly. But if we successfully build a world where the execution of a contract is mathematically absolute, with zero room for a widow's plea or a community's shame, are we actually creating a utopia of perfect, impartial justice?
Or are we just building a world where a mathematically perfect theft is flawlessly executed and completely legal?
That's exactly it.
Wow. If code is law and the code gets hacked, where does the conscience step in? That is a brilliant and honestly terrifying thought to leave on. Thank you so much for walking through this psychological labyrinth with me today.
It was a pleasure. It's such a rich story.
To you listening, we hope this deep dive into Premchand's Ishwari Nyay gave you some powerful new frameworks for thinking about trust, law, and the actual weight of your own decisions.
Hopefully it gave you something to think about.
For sure. And if it did, please remember to support the Simplified Summary YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and head down to the comments. We genuinely want to hear your take. In our modern world, does true justice come from the courtroom, the code, or the conscience? Let us know. Until next time, keep diving deep.